Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brennan again. It's Friday. I'm in my car. I'm actually running a few errands. I have to send off my last PS4 game. So I've sold every single game that I own. This is the last one. I actually sold this one a while ago, but the person didn't end up paying. They lived in like South Africa or something, and the shipping was like $27. So I don't know why they would want to purchase it in that case, because that's pretty much more than this game is worth. I've got a lot of questions about the PS4 and about what games I'm going to pick up. So Destiny just came out. I know a lot of you guys picked that up. I, however, did not end up getting it, and I don't think I will, only because I don't really play a lot of multiplayer games online, and that's really all it is. So I probably will not be getting that. I'll probably wait and try to find something else. So gonna send that out. I think it's going to Texas. Then I'm also going to be sending out the last Campbell Fitness Bar Don't Lie black t-shirt. It's actually gonna go to my sister. So if she's watching this, which she should, if she's not watching, what the hell are you doing? My family doesn't even watch my channel. But I'm sending this out to her. She's in South Korea. She's always been a big supporter of mine. I wanted to give her a t-shirt. So I think that's the last one in existence. I do still think we have some tank tops left. So if you're interested, link's always in the description for Forged Iron Training. And I think they're going through a site-wide sale. So not only are all the Forged Iron Training t-shirts on sale, but whatever they have left on the tank tops are probably a couple of bucks off also. Now that being said, I'm actually, let's see if I can get you in here. I'm at the post office. So this is right in Narragansett. And it's probably gonna be hard to see down there. It's hard to tell on the camera, but right beyond that wall, right beyond that American flag also is the beach. Speaking of American flag, yesterday was 9/11 and a lot of people had some statuses up. That's why the flag's hanging there at half mast. I, however, am always at full mast, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm also rocking my Wounded Warrior project. And to kind of tie this all together, this wasn't really a plan, my sister's in South Korea because she is in the Army. She's actually a veterinarian in the Army. So she has her doctorate, so she is a doctor. And I am just a person on YouTube, a self-proclaimed guru. Mail this off and I'll talk to you guys when we're outside the gym. Be right back. All right, so errands are all done outside the gym. Today is supposed to be a squat day, and it still is going to be a squat day, but I think I'm gonna just do a bunch of squats, and I think I might actually bench as well too. I really just feel like sticking to the main compounds this next week or so. I've been having a little bit of a tough week. Time for me to vent and share some feels. Now, for anyone who's watched my channel for any length of time or has watched any of my squat videos, you know I always shit on my own depth, not to mention a lot of people do also, and it's really kind of been coming to a head. It's been bothering me extremely lately. In fact, I've been perseverating on it, and that's all I can really think about anytime I go and squat. I just go and say I'm really shallow, I'm not deep enough, and I get really frustrated, and it sucks. It's annoying because, again, something I've really been trying to work on, and it seems like no matter how hard I try, I just don't seem to get anywhere. So today I'm just gonna keep it simple. We're just gonna do a bunch of squats and probably some benching. And it's interesting only because, you know, I'll be the first to call me out. My depth needs work. However, it's also interesting because a lot of people also criticize me on this, which is okay. Putting YouTube videos up, you're gonna get some criticism, but it's interesting only because I don't know if people think that I'm cutting it shallow on purpose, like I'm stopping. It's not like a quarter squat where you're going down halfway just because you don't want to go any further because it hurts or something like that. Literally, my body does not allow me to get deeper than I can go. Like even doing pause squats or things of that nature, that's just where my mobility and where my body allows me, my mechanics, to go. And I don't know if it's because of my lower back issues, and I really don't want to harp on that because I know a lot of people make excuses. For those of you that aren't aware, I do have bone spurs on my spine, the lower end. Probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I went and got some MRIs. The doctors at the time told me I had the back of a 65-year-old, which some of you might say match my face then, so what's the problem? But they also told me I shouldn't lift any more heavy weights in terms of deadlifts or squats, anything that puts a big load on my spine. And putting a big load on yourself at any time is not very fun, unless you're into bukkake, in which case, that's really what you want. But at that point in time when I was told that, that's really when I went back and kind of started to retool and reteach myself squats in proper form, because I think that's how I got hurt, because I wasn't squatting correctly. And I made a lot of improvements, and I got fairly strong in my opinion, and I really improved upon some of my mechanics. However, I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, but it doesn't seem, at least in my opinion again, that I've been getting anywhere. I've just been kind of spinning my wheels. So again, from my standpoint, it's frustrating because I'm putting all this time and effort in, and filming on YouTube is actually, I think, playing into that a little bit. It's not helping the problem just because I see it all the time and I'm always worried about it, not only from my own standpoint, but even though I don't really care that people criticize me, there's a part of me that still, I wouldn't say is offended, but takes it to heart when people criticize me. I mean, I can laugh stuff off. It's not a big deal. I don't take it too personal, but over time still, I know my depth is an issue and it's something I really want to focus on. So we're just going to work on it. And I'm going to do that by doing some heavy compounds and just trying to retool. And if that means stepping back and really lowering the weight, I'll do that. I don't think it's going to really help that much because even if I have lower weight, my mechanics itself, like I said, don't allow me to do that. All right, now that I've bitched at you guys for the last 3 minutes and I'm feeling like a big vagina, I'm going to go in and I'm going to squat and I'm going to bench. Things are going to be okay. We'll see you inside. All right, so now that I got my little bitch session out of the way, starting off very light today, going to work on some things. So you can probably see that I'm wearing my Nike Romaleos. I haven't been wearing these the last couple of weeks. Decided to go ahead and put them back on. I was playing around squatting in flat shoes for a little bit, but one of the things that I found with those CrossFit Light TRs is the fact that, although very flat, they're not very solid in terms of the actual footing they provide, unlike these Olympic powerlifting shoes. So I wanted to give these a go. Now again, the key thing I'm really trying to work on here is pushing my knees out and getting low. And you can see for the most part, at least in my opinion, I'm sure, as I've already mentioned, you guys will criticize me either way. That's all good. I am getting below parallel here. What I'm looking for is my hip crease below the top of my knee, and I think it's pretty easy to see in all of these sets. However, what you can see is the fact, because I'm forcing myself so low, and I've already talked about my mechanics and some of my form issues, you can see I start to get some lumbar flexion, aka butt wink, going on. Now, I actually spent a good amount of time warming up. I spent a lot of time doing those frog stretches that you saw in the Chris Duffin video, which if you haven't checked out, go ahead and do that. I also spent a lot of time just using some bands and really trying to open my hips, and I felt like it went pretty well. So as far as today's progression goes, I started with 135 and the goal was to jump up either 50 or 40 pounds each time. So I went 135 to 185 to 225 to 275. So either 25s or 45s each time, with the main goal being to work up to 405 for my, here are some air quotes that you can't see unfortunately, but you can picture it, up to 405 for my working sets. Now the reason I didn't want to go heavier than this is just because, as I've already mentioned, working on some things here and didn't want to just overload myself and see a lot of breakdown. Plus I mentioned I squatted yesterday, and although not heavy, really working on form taxes my lower back, as you can see already again with that lumbar flexion. This puts me at a very weak position and something I'm not used to, so I'd rather just go light and work on things than visit Snap City. Speaking of working on things, I didn't really see a point of utilizing my knee sleeves until my heavier sets at 405, so up until then you'll see them just glorified calf warmers, which is kind of interesting only because there are no such calves to warm up. I'm also not wearing a belt here just because, again, really working on form, working on core strength. Typically, I don't wear a belt unless I'm doing working sets over 405. So let's say if I'm squatting 500 for my working sets and I do 400 as part of my progression, I probably won't wear a belt then. But in the case of where I'm actually looking at 405 for working sets, in most cases I will wear a belt depending on how many reps I'm doing and things I'm working on. However, this particular day I just decided not to, again, because I'm looking at this more as a tinkering day. So then we jump up to the actual working set, so some things change right away. You can see that I'm actually using my knee sleeves. I'm actually throwing on the gangster wrist wraps as well as those compression cuffs. All this work yesterday and today was kind of giving me a little bit of strain in both my forearms and my wrists, so I decided to utilize both of these, and this helped a lot. One of the things I can say that I'm glad of, or I'm proud of, or I'm happy of, or I'm satisfied with in these particular clips is that my depth is remaining the same on these sets as it did for 135 in my progression all the way up, so that's a good thing. Some of the things I really need to work on, and some of the things that I found have really helped me on these particular sets, is as I'm going down in each one of these actual reps, what I'm thinking in my mind is loading the weight onto my heels. And what I mean by that is coming down, I'm really trying to imagine transferring the weight from my back onto my heels. And the reason I do this is because if I don't do so, otherwise I find I tend to lean a little bit too far forward and kind of transfer the weight onto the front of my foot, which kind of throws me off, and I have a much stronger position on the back of my foot. So that's a little tip if you have some issues falling forward. Really imagine that, like you're loading up kind of like a spring onto your heels, and then as you get to the bottom, explode up.
So once I got to this 405 pound weight, I decided to stay here for 4 sets. So we actually ended up doing a total of 10 sets of squats. Again, nothing necessarily major, but I'd like to build up my tolerance because I'd like to squat more often and just really work on it. Maybe instead of focusing on all these assistance exercises as I've been doing, I think I'm going to try to transfer over to maybe just more of the compounds and just repetition and building up my work capacity. But on all of these, I was really happy with my actual work, considering everything I've already mentioned or complained about up till this point. So at that point, I actually decided that maybe I'd skip bench because I was feeling a little taxed and fatigued, but I really had to do it, so I wanted to go ahead and jump in. This is actually my 3rd time benching this week. I just really wanted to work on things, and in this case, what I'm trying to work on is both my setup and my actual pausing. So for these setups, I'm doing a little bit different by starting with my feet on the bench and trying to plant myself a little bit differently. I know a lot of people do this. Initially, these first 2 sets, which you see here, 135, and then the first set of 185, I'm taking my standard grip, what I've been using for a while, but I just haven't really felt powerful in this position. So after this particular set, and all these sets were done for 4 reps each, what I decided to do was to move my grip in, because in between sets, what I was doing is I was imagining, let's say someone got up all in my grill, and I was gonna push them away from me or push me off. I was keeping my elbows and my arms in closer to my body rather than flared out, so having a wider push, so to say. And I wanted to translate this feeling into my bench. So as you can see here, I moved my grip in for all remaining sets. What I did is I took where the actual knurling started on the bar in the middle, put my thumbs on that, and I took a fairly narrow grip, at least compared to what I used to, so a couple inches in. And as you guys already know from watching my channel for any length of time, and speaking of length, anytime you move a couple of inches or get an extra couple inches, it makes a big difference, if you know what I'm saying. But these felt pretty strong and pretty powerful. I always felt pretty good on my close grip bench work I've been doing lately, even after I've done my main working set. So I'm going to experiment with this and maybe see if I can really get this to work. I will say, even though you probably can't tell from the video, that I felt like my leg drive was a lot better, just because I feel like I can really load up by tucking my elbows in some and flaring them out a little. And again, it's really hard to see, at least in my opinion, watching these videos, but it's something that I at least felt better at. So happy about that as well. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this last week's been kind of tough on me. A lot of mind games have been going on, but this was a fairly solid workout. It really made me feel good about myself. And trust me, I'm a master of self-gratification, so I know when I'm making myself feel good. So as far as this bench goes, if you haven't been able to tell, we did 2 actual sets at each weight, just worked up to 225 because we were trying new things. But overall, it was a solid workout in my opinion and a great start to the weekend. As always, thanks for watching. In the meantime, stay big.